All right, good evening. Welcome to the June 9th, 2025 meeting of the Marshfield Planning Board. The time is now 7:01 p.m. Tonight's meeting is being recorded by MCTV, and we are holding a live remote meeting via Zoom.
All right.
Sorry, somebody's giving me
I'd
feedback.
like to say something, Mr. Chair, if at all possible.
It's up to Mr. Duffy's.
I rest. My point is, this is you're setting a precedent that every other business, every other restaurant, every other bar can now say, well, if you allow the jetty,
Hey,
right up to the property
it's
line,
right
why
a public
can't I?
meeting.
You set a precedent.
Hey, is
And
this
now it's
Judith
gonna
Crowley
happen in every
talking?
business, every restaurant, every bar, every automobile dealership, everywhere.
Let's just listen to him. Huh?
35 foot buffer zone now doesn't exist. But you, the select board has the power to right this wrong.
All right.
Oh, thank you. Who did that?
I just muted her.
You are the best, Karen. All right, so Judith Crowley, we could hear everything you were yelling at. I appreciate interrupting the meeting. That was very helpful. All right, we're going to get going again here now that we can hear ourselves. All right, good evening. Welcome to the June 9th, 2025 meeting of the Marshfield Planning Board. The time is now 7:02 p.m. and tonight's meeting is being recorded by MCTV. We are holding a live remote meeting via Zoom. Tonight's members here tonight are Katie O'Donnell, Nick Papastratus, Fred Monaco, Kevin Campbell, and Mike Viviano. Recently, our associate member Scott DeCastro put in his resignation, so our associate position will be up for grabs. If you're interested in applying, please let us know at the planning staff. Also with us tonight is Greg Guimon, our town planner, and Karen Horn, our assistant town planner. At this time, I'll make a motion to open tonight's public meeting and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thank you, Nick.
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Monaco, aye.
Kevin,
Kevin Campbell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the minutes of 4/14/25, 4/28/25, and 5/19/25. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. And I'll vote on the 4/14 and the 4/28, but I wasn't there at the 5/19, so I won't vote on those.
Okay.
Katie O'Donnell, aye.
I think you can vote on them. You just don't. No, that's fine. So we're just going to take the first two then, because you're part of that vote.
Yeah, I mean, I read the minutes of 5/19. I can vote on all of them. I just wanted to note that.
Great, perfect.
So, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thank you, Nick.
I was also not part of the 519 meeting, but I did read the minutes, so I'll vote for all three. Nick Papastratus, aye.
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin Campbell, aye.
Fred.
Monaco, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, thank you. All right, we got a couple minutes before the public hearing. So, Greg, what's this request for a repetitive petition? Can you please explain why that's required?
So the owners of the Venus had asked to come back to town meeting in the fall. And I had mentioned to them, because the warrant or the zoning article had failed at town meeting, there is a 2-year time frame unless the planning board allows a repetitive petition. So they have submitted an email request for that, and Nick is here to speak for them.
So I think we should probably all take some time to think about it before we have any discussion on it. You know, this is the first time I've really even heard about it. I started on the agenda. I know why it needs to come back. So I don't think we need to hear from anyone tonight. The board members can put a little thought into it to see if we think that's something that should be able to go back to town meeting. And I think we just kind of move on from there. So any of the board members object with that? Give you a little more time to think about it. This isn't coming up till the fall town meeting, so we have some time.
I'm fine.
Seeing that, I think we're going to pass on that one for tonight and give everyone a chance to think about it. Can you bring the agenda back up?
Hold on.
So if anyone's here for that tonight, we're not going to discuss it. We will have it on a future meeting date.
I'm not sharing. the right screen? Is
You're
the,
showing a screen, just not the agenda.
is the agenda up?
No, it's a blank desk page, desktop screen.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can see it. Let me try to pull up my end. All right, I got mine up here.
Share screen one. There you go.
All right. You went back to one that threw me off of mine.
So you're not seeing this,
Yeah, I got you now. Yep, we have it.
the agenda? Okay.
All right, so let's go to our public hearing. This is going to be, I'm going to open the public hearing for the street improvement on Texas Street and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Campbell, I.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Someone here for Texas Street?
Yes, this is Craig
Morris.
Morse.
Hi, Greg, how are you?
Good evening.
Great. You want to share the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Just bear with me one sec. Okay, you should have the plan up in front of you. Can you see that?
We can, yes.
Great, thank you. For the record, my name is Gregory Morse. I'm a registered engineer with Morse Engineering. Tonight, I'm representing Zorge Holdings LLC, who submitted a plan for a street improvement on Texas Street. Texas Street is in the Kent Park neighborhood off of South River Street. Texas Street was originally laid out in 1920. Portions of it have been built. This portion has not been built. Familiarizing you with the plan here, this is Washington Avenue here. Texas Street, where my cursor is unconstructed between Washington Street and Wellington Avenue on the left-hand side of the screen. The proposal here is to construct the new road starting at the Washington Avenue intersection and coming in approximately 173 feet. It would provide access to only one single-family house lot, parcel I-11-2409, which has been deemed as a residential lot of record. The proposal for the improvement of Texas Street here is 18-foot wide of pavement as traveled way with 12-inch Cape Cod berms on each side. So it's a total of 20 feet of pavement across. Utilities would consist of a water service from Washington Ave down the side of the pavement to the proposed house. There's an existing utility pole right about here where my cursor is, which has existing overhead electric from Washington Ave to it. We would be installing a subsurface electric from that existing utility pole to the proposed house. And lastly, drainage. How the roadway was laid out, we basically have a high point about where my cursor is here, so that everything from my cursor into the left on the screen drains to a catch basin at the end of the street, a Hydro International particle separator, and then beneath the roadway, we have a series of Cultec stormwater chambers to promote groundwater recharge. The plan was submitted to Pat Brennan for a peer review. We have revised the plan to address Mr. Brennan's comments. I see he's on the call tonight. Some of those comments included, we superimposed the road or super elevated the road, which means it does not have a traditional crown on it, but it pitches to the north side. It pitches across the street and then down to the catch basin. We also submitted our plans to the Board of Health. The Board of Health has approved the septic system design on the residential lot of record. We've applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals as a portion of the work is in the Inland Wetlands District. The Inland Wetlands District is this purple line here, which bisects the lot and then goes out to Washington Ave here. So the majority of the street improvement is within that district. The zoning board did grant approval for placement of fill and the construction of this project. Conservation Commission, we have a wetland which is off-site, highlighted in blue here. Conservation has received the notice of intent and held one public hearing. They have not yet approved the project, but we're working toward hopefully an approval toward the end of June at their second June meeting. I'm going to turn it over to you. I believe we've addressed the peer reviewers' comments with this layout in that we comply with the standards providing access for a residential lot of record. There were 5 waivers that we had requested on the plan, and I can go over those at any point you feel ready
Yeah,
for
Greg,
them.
why don't you go over those now so we know what they are?
Sure. So waiver number 1 is in regards to the subdivision rules and regs 7F4, which requires sidewalks on a street. There were no sidewalks anywhere within the Kent Park neighborhood. We weren't proposing sidewalks as part of this street improvement. The second waiver was in regards to section 9D1, which is the curb radius. Typically at the intersection where the pavement rounds a corner like this, the board requires a 30-foot radius on the curb. We're able to provide that 30-foot radius on the southern curve here, but on the north curb, we're only providing a 10-foot radius. We can't fit a 30-foot radius within the existing street right-of-way layout. The third waiver is in regards to section 9D4, which is the K value associated with a vertical curve in the road. If I go to sheet 2 of the plans, you'll see the roadway profile here. This would be the intersection of the street. We're coming in at a 7% grade for approximately 25 feet before we taper off and then go at a negative 0.5% grade to the back of the project where the catch basin is. The transition between that negative 0.5% and the 7% coming in off the street, this is referred to as the K value. By having a K value of less than 20, it allows us to take more stormwater and send it to the back of the site where it's going to be treated through a catch basin and dry wells, versus if we had the K value of 20, it would make this vertical curve longer in length and direct more flow toward Washington Avenue, where there is no drainage existing. The fourth is in regard to 9D8, which is the requirement that the first 50 feet of road have a 2% leveling area. Again, we're coming in at a 7% off the street for approximately the first 25 feet, and then it transitions to a negative 0.5%. The leveling area at 2% really wouldn't be feasible to comply with the drainage and groundwater conditions at this site. So we've asked for that waiver. The last one is in regards to section 10D, which is the proposed water line. The requirements are that an 8-inch water main be installed. Our proposal is to simply install a single water service here from Washington Ave down to the house. There is a fire hydrant right up the street on Washington Ave within the 500-foot proximity of this house. Running a 8-inch line in didn't seem appropriate for one single family home. That concludes it, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Greg. How come you guys didn't run through the frontage all the way through the lot?
Sure. You are only required to improve a portion of the frontage, not the entire frontage.
How much is it?
What's that?
How much is proposed?
So I believe it's, let's see, I believe it's approximately 50 feet.
And that's what you need for your residential lot of record?
That's correct.
Okay.
The presence of the wetlands off-site here, would probably prohibit construction of Texas Street across the entire frontage. But we are able to get enough, the 50 feet being constructed for the residential lot of record.
Okay, sounds good. We're gonna go to Pat Brennan, but do any of the board members have any questions beforehand? Okay, seeing none, Pat, I'll let you go.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Yeah, so I reviewed the project, submitted a letter to the board dated May 7th. And as Greg mentioned, they revised the plans based on that letter. And the major change from the initial set of plans to this one is a super elevating of the road. On the original set of plans, they had a crown in the road and a pair of catch basins at the end. But the problem was that all of the stormwater from that first roughly 56 feet of roadway was going to go out onto Washington Street uncontrolled. By super elevating the road, what they've also done is proposed a break in the Cape Cod berm right near Washington Street and a crushed stone trench along the north side of the road so that they can capture most of that stormwater and put it into that crushed stone trench. And that was really my biggest concern, was having that stormwater going out into Washington Avenue, and this pretty much prevents that. So it addresses that comment, as well as the other comments that I had that were more related to changes on the details and so forth. But those were my, that was my major concern. I know that Greg Guimond had brought up a couple of questions, because there is a 4-inch perforated pipe in that northerly trench. But the end of it looks like the end of it does, looks like it ends at the 25-foot no touch zone there, but it's just not labeled. So it was unclear. And then I think we both also have a question on the transition. There's a crushed stone trench on the south side of the road that goes into a 12-inch culvert that goes under that proposed driveway. And I think we just need a little clarification on what the transition from the crushed stone into the culvert would be, if it's, some type of a structure or what that is. But that's it at this point.
Okay, so all your concerns were addressed with this new plan?
Yeah, except for those two, that one question basically is that transition.
Okay, Greg Guimond, do you want to go?
The one other issue, I talked to Conservation Commission this afternoon, and one of the things that they need to decide is, in the past, there was a isolated wetland in the right-of-way, which could affect the construction of this road. So after we hear from the public, my recommendation would be that we would continue to June 23rd meeting, because hopefully by then we would know if there is an isolated wetland involved in this project.
Okay, Greg Morris, what are your thoughts about that isolated pocket?
Sure. So we were made aware that there was a previous filing on this property, which did have a wetland, kind of in the area where my cursor is right now. Our wetland scientist did not find it when he went out there. There's also been some changes in the regulations and changes in the definitions of what a wetland is in the town of Marshfield under the local bylaw. What's out there certainly doesn't meet the state criteria. Conservation Commission, nonetheless, they've scheduled a site visit for June 17th, I believe it is, that they're going to do a site visit and confirm whether that wetland exists today or not. We don't believe it does.
Okay, so I think it's probably best to wait until after we hear back on that from the Conservation Commission.
And Mike, on the waivers, the first waiver is not required for street improvements, are not required to have sidewalks, so we don't need to worry about that one.
Okay. Greg went too far. All right, so any other questions from the board before I go to the public?
Greg, could you stop sharing so we could see the screen in case people raise their hands? Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, so no questions from the board right now, but is anyone here from the public for this? Okay, Jay Creed's up.
James F. Creed Jr., 36 Washington Ave. My property is located on the southerly side, abutting Texas Street, the portion that's to be improved. My sole concern is with regard to that, what previously was an isolated vegetated wetland. It may or may not be a wetland according to the Conservation Commission's new definitions. However, I can tell you that it regularly ponds with water up to 12 inches and more deep in the center, which runs, if you put up the plan again, I can give you an idea of where that ponding occurs. I've also submitted.
Jay, I think that's mostly a conservation issue. They're doing a site visit to determine themselves.
My concern is you're talking about building a street and elevating it in an area directly through where this water ponds. So my concern is for my property. I already get water on my property probably 80% of the year. 80% of each year that I've lived there, at least once or twice, a pond which covers most of where Texas Street is going to be built uh, gathers and is about anywhere from 8 to 12 inches deep. By building a road, my concern here is that I don't want to get any more water. I've submitted to you the letter that I submitted to the Conservation Commission, which shows at the end, the last attachment is the April 2024 flood, which created that ponding area. And I've also submitted a picture of the mounded system that's been built at 41 Washington Ave, not because that impacts this project, but to give you an idea of the scope of the elevations that are going to be on the building lot. So all of that water is going to shed off, and I want to be assured that this plan is engineered in such a way that it doesn't create any more runoff on my property. I already have water in my basement. I've got dehumidifiers running 24/7. We didn't get the ponding this year, but if this road is going to be built, I want to be assured that it's not going to cause any more damage to me by way of water, that the water that it is going to shed by its being constructed goes off-site down Texas Street toward Wellington rather, and into the wetland. So that's my concern.
Okay, thank you, Jay. We'll think about that as well. Anyone else here from the public? Okay, I don't see anybody else. So if there's anything from the board, questions now would be great. If not, I'm going to continue this.
I don't have any questions right now.
Okay. Katie, good?
I'm all
Yeah.
set.
Get into it.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to make a motion at this time that we continue this public hearing until 6/23/25 at 7:05 p.m. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, we'll see everyone back for that on the 23rd.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so that's going to put us to the continued hearing for John Sherman Estates. So I'm going to make a motion. We open that public hearing and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, looks like Greg, you want to tell us what's going on?
So at the last meeting, we didn't have enough members to take the matter up because it's a special permit involved. This has been, we've been dealing with the encroachment problems with the open space on the John Sherman property. We have a draft decision for the board for the modification to consider. We also should be thinking about closing the public hearing. The Larkins have purchased 26 Proctor, a portion of the land from 26 Proctor that we had shown in an AMR plan, which they then used to purchase the property. They have yet to give Attorney Driscoll the deed language because they are going to turn it over to Mr. Driscoll. And Mr. Driscoll and the Larkins have to come up with the deed language for the Larkin encroachment parcel, which is being taken out of the open space. Once that's done, then Mr. Driscoll files the open space, and we have, I think, the last major obstacle for wrapping up this subdivision taken care of.
Okay, thanks. Somebody's Francis, yeah, there we go.
I muted him.
Okay, thanks. Paul, do you have anything to mention? You're on mute, Paul. Paul Driscoll, you're on mute.
Lower left, there should be a microphone, Paul. If you
Yeah,
click,
how's that?
good.
Okay, thank you. I'm a genius at this stuff. I have not heard personally from Mr. and Mrs. Larkin since the last meeting. I did email Mr. Larkin and say that I was awaiting a draft of the deed that he needs signed by me as trustee of Paris Realty Trust, and I have not received it. The only thing I have is a copy of an email that Mrs. Larkin sent to Greg Gaiman on, I think, a couple of days ago or today. So that's all I have. So I wait for that from them in order to take the next step.
Okay, Greg, you think going out to the 23rd is okay, or do we need more?
We can go out to the 23rd, and if we don't have this by the 23rd, then I would add a condition to require the deeds to be resolved by a certain time frame. And if that doesn't happen, then we can always ask for enforcement.
Okay, that's fine.
We're really close.
Yep.
I really want to get this one done.
Anyone from the board have any comments? Seeing none, anyone from the public have any comments? All right, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion that we continue this public hearing until 6/23/25 at 7:05. Is there a second?
Sorry, did I miss? We don't want to close it with conditions?
I mean, we may need still to work something out. So you might as well just leave it open.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't see why closing it if we need to possibly discuss something else.
All right. I also hope that we can get this done.
Okay. I made a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thank you, Nick.
Can I ask a quick question? This is an educational question. I'm
Can
sorry.
you let them vote first, Mary?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nick,
Nick Papistratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Campbell, I.
Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, Mary, we're not going to get into discussion because we just continued it, but if you have a quick question.
Yeah, no, and it's just like a lookup history type question. So Greg, you mentioned like people can overturn town meetings and like by the planning board going in and accepting like a loophole. Where would
Yeah,
I?
well, Mary, what's this about? Hang on, Greg.
Oh,
I
I was
did
just
not
wondering where I
mention
could
that.
read about that. That's all.
Okay, give Greg a call during town hall hours, please.
Okay. All right.
We're in,
That's
we're in a
that's
public
cool.
meeting right now.
No problem. I'll send you an email, Greg. Not a problem.
Thank you. Great.
Thanks.
All right. I think we have, we're just going on to staff report.
You took care of the minutes. You got the A&R plan. You didn't do the A&R plan yet.
We didn't? Oh, we did not. I'm sorry. How'd I skip that? All right. So,
Is the A&R plan up on the screen?
um,
Okay, I got it this time.
yeah, Old Colony. Yep, I see it.
So
Do we need to open that or anything?
it conforms. It's actually double the size it needs to be. It has proper frontage. It has all its setbacks and stuff shown. We checked with town council and he was like, nope, you guys can go ahead and sign.
Okay. What's happening? I don't know what the A&R is.
So it is the property next to the airport. There's an older house on there. The current property owners are thinking about putting in a heliport there, taking down the house and adding a heliport. That's a matter between the Marshfield Airport, this applicant, and the FAA. As far as we're concerned, as on an A&R plan, it meets the requirements for an A&R plan.
Okay, that's fine. Any questions on the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the A&R plan on Old Colony Lane as shown on this plan. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Campbell, I.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, sorry, I missed that. I'll let you go on, Greg.
As I mentioned to the board, it sounds like the MBTA communities towns arguments have been just dismissed by the judge. And the select board is going to have to think about what would they like to do. I guess they could appeal to the Superior Court, or we could return to fall town meeting with an MBTA communities article. If that's the case, the latter is the case. August is the deadline for getting zoning language. So Karen and I would be doing a deep dive to prepare for that if that's where we go. I think it's the select board's call, and we need to be ready to react if it goes with a zoning change versus an appeal.
Okay, what's the what happens right now? Can anyone file for a building permit under this at this point?
There is no zoning district created, so I personally don't think so. I know Bob Galvin thinks that there is a possibility that somebody could try to push that. We wouldn't, meaning the town would not approve it, and then they would have to take us to court. But there is no law covering that. This is MBTA communities law is kind of a new law, and there has not been a lot of case law other than dismissing towns' counter arguments to the creation of these zoning districts. The state is very clear on what they expect out of a zoning district. So I don't think anyone anywhere in town can just come in and say, hey, I want to do an MBTA zoning. But again, that's something I guess we will find out in the future, either us or some other town.
Did Bob say it was possible because of, like the same situation with like strip clubs where we put them in one section of town, so they couldn't have them anywhere? Is that what he was referring to?
Not anywhere. And again, I rely on the state's emergency regulations are quite clear what you have to do in order to create a district. But Bob thinks that, well, somebody may try, to do it that way, but it would result in multiple year lawsuits if that's the case, because the town would not just say yes. As far as Bob was concerned as well. So
are we on hold with the selectmen right now, looking to see how they will proceed?
Yeah, I think we're on hold, but we need to be ready that we're going to have probably a lot of work to do by October.
So you say a lot of work to do, but we already have a perfect situation in our minds worked out for the zone.
Yes, but part of the problem with the lawsuit is it became clear to the state that the way we drafted our law, our zoning changes, would result in a lot less than the number of units that they would like to see.
So they know our plan, essentially. They know the old plan, essentially.
Well, they've kind of figured out that we did our best to minimize the impacts to the town.
So, I mean, did they write us a letter saying that's not acceptable?
They didn't write us a letter, but it was in the court filings that they kind of made mention that they understood what Marshfield did. Now, that's not saying that they would not accept it if we turned around and just used the same zoning change. That
Okay.
is an option we could do. And they have in the past told us that what we did met the letter of the law.
Okay.
Karen, do you want to add anything? Oh, nope. Guess we lost Karen.
Okay. Any other comments on MBTA at all?
I guess I was just going to say, I thought that back, like in the early days of it, that they were quoted as saying, you don't have to build it, you just need to zone for it, which I feel is what our plan worked towards. And I'm just curious if we have, again, it's a lot of work to go back and find that in writing, but
That is, they still say you don't have to build it, you just have to zone for it, which is why I'm saying we could come back with the same package. And, you know, if town meeting were to accept it, then it would be up to the state to say, hey, no, now it doesn't work.
okay.
Well, if it gets to that point, hopefully it's in the same place because it worked pretty well there for us. All right. Any other questions before we adjourn here?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay. All right. Seeing no one else, I want to make a motion that we close tonight's public hearing. Is there a second?
Public hearing or public meeting?
Public meeting. I'll make a
Okay.
motion to close the public meeting.
Okay. Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thank you, Nick.
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay. Thank you, everyone.